back with today's relationships and ways to breathe new life into your marriage.
When Jeff and Cheryl Scruggs said I do, they thought it meant forever. They had a great home, a great life, great jobs, great friends, and eventually 2 adorable little girls to fill their house with joy. But it wasn't enough, and soon they divorced. But the story, happily, doesn't end there. They said I do again, and have written all about it in their new book. And it's so nice to welcome both of you back, especially on the heels of the earlier. And you live in Dallas, right near TD's church, right?
Yeah. So what happened? Your first marriage, you got married, and you were in your 20s.
Right.
Why didn't the initial marriage work, do you think?
Because we had the wrong focus. I think we had expectations that were too high. We probably weren't mature enough to get married. And we just kind of looked at the surface things of life, I think. Just how much money we could make, what kind of cars we could drive.
Materialism.
We happened to move to L.A., and so we had an Ocean View home, and we had all the stuff of the world, really.
Did you both think it wasn't working, or did you think, oh, the marriage is fine?
I thought the marriage was great. In fact, in the book, she says that after 2 years, she had emotionally divorced me. And for me, I didn't realize, I thought everything was great up through 9 years. So,
but you couldn't talk to him either, right? You couldn't tell him that.
How come?
It's usually the man they say they can't communicate. Why couldn't you tell Jeff?
Well, I think growing up, I didn't really learn to communicate on a deeper emotional level. And so I was actually afraid to tell him how I was feeling. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I grew up kind of doing everything perfectly, trying to, and I thought, how could I tell him that I'm not very happy? And so I kept it to myself. I buried it, and that's what caused the anger and bitterness to really surface.
You had an affair that you didn't learn about until after the divorce, right?
I didn't learn about it until, actually probably about a year and a half after the divorce.
So you couldn't understand what was pulling on her.
That was the missing piece of the puzzle. I didn't realize what had happened. I couldn't figure out where did it go wrong.
Most people find out, right? So, and when you read this book, you do. Your heart breaks for not. I mean, I know you were in pain too, but this is a wonderful man. This is the kind of man that many women would say, "That's my ideal man," right? And even you say that.
He was.
Okay, so you're divorced, and what brought you two back together? How did that happen?
We moved from L.A. to Dallas, and we started going to church.
Separately?
No, we actually started going together.
We were still together at that point.
I thought you were.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you meant after the divorce.
Yeah, that's
what
what
I'm talking about. After the divorce.
Post-divorce, you've gone your separate ways.
Yeah.
What brought you two back?
I started going to a church that my life was a mess. I thought I was all together, and I wasn't. And I had these people loving on me, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, why they loved me so much, and just kind of took me in and
didn't judge you.
Didn't judge me at all. I learned there was a spiritual part of my life that was missing. God was really missing from my life. And so I was learning how to pray and things like that. And so I started praying, and I felt like God was saying, I want you to pursue reconciling your marriage. And I didn't want to.
Oh, really? It was the same thing. Were you thinking about
No,
her?
at that point I was so angry at her I couldn't even look at her.
You never wanted the divorce.
I never wanted the divorce, but once it was final, I was...
Okay, so then how did it ultimately intersect? How did you guys make it work again?
Well, I approached Jeff 6 months after we divorced, and it wasn't about, that I thought I made a mistake. It was more about conviction, and I felt like I probably made a decision that was wrong. And so I went to him, and I actually wrote him a letter. It took me 2 months to write it. And I said, it was basically about telling him how sorry I was for everything that I had done, and then asked him if I could, if we could possibly try to work it out. And he was very
at that point I wasn't open to it at all. I thought she was crazy.
How long did it take?
You didn't trust her. Trust had
I
been
didn't
broken.
trust. She needed to, I call it making deposits into my trust account. I didn't trust her.
And how long did it take for you to say, let's give this another go?
Well, it took me 3 years to realize that I had some ownership with the problems in the first marriage.
Okay.
And
So
after
you weren't
that,
Mr. Perfect.
right, I wasn't Mr. Perfect.
Imagine that.
Right, exactly. But I was just so full of pride. It took me that long, to get over that and to realize, I had a lot to do with this as well. So once I did that, I was able to forgive her at that point.
And how about the children? Were they saying, "Mom, Dad, get together, get
Yes.
together."
Yes,
They're adorable,
They're
by the way.
beautiful young
Twins.
ladies.
They're right there.
My son
Adorable.
Cody's here too, and believe me, he didn't want to leave. They're gorgeous. He's
are
leaving now. He's hiding.
I know. Yes, he's making the getaway. Nice try.
They're beautiful. So, do you think there's hope for any marriage?
We do. We believe that, if you give it a chance, if you work hard enough, and with the help from God, that there's hope for every marriage.
Find that third part of the rope.
That's right.
Yeah.
Most people think there's no hope, and if they get to a place of desperation, they really can't see that it can work out. And it takes a lot of hard work. It's taken us a lot of hard work.
That's a terrific book. It really is. It's very honest and hard to write,
Thank
I'm
you.
sure.
Thank you both so much for coming on the show. We
So fun
appreciate it.
meeting you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great.
You can find an excerpt from I Do Again on our website at todayshow.com.